Hi class, we're going to go through Module 1 in your Excel textbook, getting started with Excel. The objectives for 1.1 are to look through and learn how to open and close the workbook, navigate through your workbook and worksheet, select cells and ranges, plan and create a workbook, insert, rename, and move worksheets, enter text, dates and numbers, undo and redo actions, resize columns and rows. So the way the textbook is laid out, for each module, at the beginning of each of the chapters, it will have a module, basically a case that you will go through that will teach you the main objectives for that chapter. At the bottom of page 1, you can see that it has the data files that you need. All of those are located in Blackboard under your course content, or course data files, so you should have access to those. And getting started, a good idea is to open up Blackboard, find the specific file that you need, right-click on that file and do a Save As, and save it either to your My Documents, your Downloads, to your desktop, whatever your preference may be. And the modules are just for practice only. It's a good idea to make sure you go through these to make sure you have a good understanding of all the things that are being covered. As you can see from my screen, I already have Excel open. We're on page 4 in your textbook. Basically what it tells you to do is to go to your Start button if you're on Windows 10 machine, Windows 8. And from there, select your specific application, which is Excel 2016. Once you select that, then it's going to open up to what is called your Backstage view. And here in your Backstage view, you can see I have a lot of recent files that I've opened, some this past week, some from last week, some that are even older than that. You have an option here to also select New. New would be where you have blank documents, where you can actually search for specific online templates. And then, of course, there are templates that are already available inside of Excel for you. So what we're going to do is actually select a blank document. And from here, we're actually going to open up Finances, which is one of your modules, spreadsheets that you need. So from here, we're going to go back to your Backstage view. We're going to select Open, all right, and then we're going to select Browse, and then we're going to browse to the specific location. So I have mine saved on a network drive. We're going to select wherever you saved it at and select Open. So here in Excel, we're going to kind of cover some of the basic functions. Over here, you can minimize your window. And when you put your mouse over specific things, it gives you an alternate text box basically telling you what that function or what it actually does. So this is your restore down, so which means it's currently in full view. This will bring it down so you can see a smaller version. The thing I wanted to point out here is that Finance is the name of your workbook, and all your file names will be listed here at the very top of your document. Some other things to note. Home is your home ribbon. It has a variety of options for you here, your clipboard, font, alignment, cells, editing. Your other ribbons are Insert, Page Layout, Formulas, Data, Review, and View. You also have this option to tell me what you want to do. So basically ask a question, and it will kind of help you figure out what it is you're trying to accomplish. Some other things to note. So here, so we currently have B5 highlighted. This is what's called your formula bar. So as you start creating specific functions inside of Excel, this is where you will be able to actually look at what you've actually typed and kind of see your formula laid out. Because once you press Enter, whatever your formula is, it's going to calculate that, so you wouldn't be able to see it without changing the view. Here in B3, which is where I currently have the cell, and you see it's highlighted in a dark green, this is what is called your name box. Name box is basically just telling you where it is. So as you can see, we have column, headers, and then your row numbers. So basically, your name box tells you what column and then what specific row is a current active cell. On page 6 in your textbook, it goes over keyboard shortcuts, which are very important. They're very useful. It basically just covers common commands that you would use. If you take the time to learn them, it will save you a lot of time. A couple that I use quite frequently are the Control-C to copy something and then the Control-V to paste it. Control-P to print. So if I have something I want to print, quickly do Control-P. It will bring up my options to print that document. So it's pretty useful. So when you have time, review Figure 1-3 to look at those specific keyboard shortcuts. On page 8 in your textbook, we're going to look at changing the active cell. Again, I've gone over what your name box is. It is always highlighted in that bold colored green, like a forest green almost. Some other things too, so down here at the bottom, you can see that you have a couple of different worksheets. And as you select a worksheet, it basically highlights that, it bolds it, and it's in that dark green color. It also is kind of underlined as well. All right, so you click on the specific worksheet that you want to be active, and you can see that it's in the bold green. One thing to note here, this is what is called a chart sheet. So basically, it pulls data from a specific location within your workbook, and then you've just created a chart sheet. You can embed charts into worksheets that are existing, and we will cover that later as we go through each of the modules. Next, we're going to look at our being able to scroll through your income statement worksheet. So if we select your income statement, and we are currently on A1, on your keyboard there are your arrows that are somewhat to the right of your keyboard before your number pad. And then depending on if you're using a laptop, they're probably at the very bottom right-hand corner. So from here, what you're going to do is actually just take your keyboard and press the down arrow, which takes you to the different options. You can select your left and right arrows to navigate through your document. All right, other things to note, you have your horizontal and your vertical scroll bars, so you can actually scroll through your document as well with these. Okay. And then Figure 1-7 is your Excel navigation keys. Again, your arrows, your home. So Control Home, if you press that on your keyboard, that will always take you back to A1, which is your home button, or your home. So A1 will always take you back to cell A1. Of course, there's Enter. You can use your Tab keys that will tab across your rows. So just look over Figure 1-7 to kind of be familiar with those as well. All right, so we're going to move our pointer over cell A5. Okay? And then you're going to click with your mouse. So again, that's another option to make that an active cell. You can press your arrow key to the right to make that our next active cell. And then you also have your options for page down and then page up. Okay, so this is just basic navigation. Again, Control Home takes you back to A1. On page 11, we're going to use the Go To dialog box in the name box. So on the Home ribbon, again, these are your ribbons at the top. We're going to make sure we're on Home. And then we're going to go under Find and Select under our editing. So here, we're going to select Find and Select. And then we're going to select Go To. So from here, we're going to type in our cell reference. Again, the B means row, column B, row 34. From there, we're just going to press OK. and it will take us down to that specific location, that specific cell reference. All right, so now one other thing you can do is here in your name box, you can type in A1 and press enter, and it takes you back to that specific. So you have a couple of different options to take you directly to a specific location. You can use on your home ribbon the find and select the go to. All right, and we selected B34 previously. And then here in our name box, we can again manually type in A1 or whatever specific cell that we want, and it will take us to that location. We're going to look at now selecting a cell range. A group of cells in a rectangular block is called a cell range. Each range is identified by a range reference that includes the cell reference of the upper left cell of the rectangular block and the cell reference of the lower right cell separated by a colon. So we're on page 12. What we're going to do is we're going to click on A5. All right, we're going to hold our mouse down, and then we're going to go down to B8. Okay? So that's our specific cell range that we have selected. All right, from there, you can see that it pops up a quick analysis button that gives you some options on what you can do with this specific data. We will cover that later, but at this point, anytime you select a range, it's going to give you that quick analysis button because it assumes that you're trying to either chart something, create a table, formatting a variety of different things. Now we're going to look at to select non-adjacent. So non-adjacent, so adjacent means that they're beside each other in some fashion. So what we're going to do is actually select a range and then actually select another range that doesn't touch that, that's not joined to it. All right, so we're going to select A5. Again, we're going to go to B8. So we've held our mouse down. So once we clicked A5, we clicked our mouse and we held it and we dragged over to B8. All right, next we're going to hold down the control key, and then we're going to select A10 through B14. All right, so now you can see that it skipped A9 and D9. So we selected non-adjacent cells. And again, all I did was select A5 through B8. We held down the control key and then selected the other cell ranges that we needed. Okay, so that gives us the ability to select non-adjacent ranges. All right, we're going to look at closing a workbook. So on our ribbon, we're going to select File. Again, this is the Backstage view. All right, it also talks about a shortcut key there as well, which is Control-W, so that would also take you to this view as well. All right. So from here, we're going to select Close. All right, and if you made any changes, it would ask you if you wanted to save. If you did not make any, then you can just say don't save. Or if it's not important, you don't need to save it. On the bottom of page 13, it kind of talks about planning a workbook. It's important to kind of understand what it is you're trying to accomplish when you're creating any kind of workbook or worksheets. So first, you need to know what problems do you need to solve, what data is going to be needed, what calculations will you need to actually compile, and then what form should your solution take. So once you have your final product, typically you're going to print out your spreadsheet in some format to give that data to somebody. Okay, so making sure you understand what those things are. So in creating your document, you're prepared and you know what it is you actually have to have. So on page 50, we're going to actually create, open up a blank workbook. So I already have this open, but I'll close this to show you. So again, on File, in the Backstage view, we're going to select New. We're going to select Blank. All right, so again, just some other things. Here's your Save button, which is on your Quick Access toolbar. So there's an undo, redo, and then there's some other options here as well, okay? Again, you can't see it here, but if I kind of pull it down some, again, anything you need to create that's new before you actually saved it is like book 1, book 2, book 3. So if I open up another one, it would be book 3. So it just kind of follows that pattern. Again, your active sheet. Anytime you open a new document, the first worksheet is going to be called Sheet 1. You have the ability to add new sheets by selecting this plus. Again, if you put your mouse over it, it's going to indicate what it gives you the ability to do. And then over to your right, you can zoom in and out, okay? There's also the page break preview that we'll look at later, the page layout, and then, of course, what we're currently in is the normal view. Excuse me. On page 16, we're going to rename Sheet 1. So we're going to double-click onto Sheet 1, and we're going to call this Customer Order. Okay, once you do that, you're going to press Enter. So you've actually created or renamed that worksheet. And now what we're going to do is we're going to insert and name the documentation and customer contact worksheets. So here we're going to create 2 new worksheets. So we're going to select our plus sign. All right, here, again, we're going to double click and we're going to call this documentation. Press Enter. And then we're going to add one more sheet and we're going to call it customer contact. All right, you can have the ability to move sheets around. So if we select documentation, we can drag it to the left. So you can change the order of these by just selecting them, holding your mouse click down, and then dragging them to the location that you need. All right, so at the bottom of page 16, we're looking at deleting worksheets. And we're going to use the shortcut menu. So we're going to right-click on Customer Contact Worksheet. And from here, you can see that it gives you the shortcut menu, which gives you some options to insert, delete, rename, move, view code, protect the sheet, and some options there. So what we're going to do is select Delete. All right, it will give you a warning that once you delete this, it's permanent. So you're going to select Delete. And now it has deleted that specific worksheet. Next, looking at saving a workbook. So here on the Quick Access toolbar at the very top, you're going to select, it looks like a floppy disk. All right, it takes you to the Backstage view again. And what we're going to do here is we're going to browse to the location that we want to save it. And from here, it just depends on where it is you want to save it. By default, typically most computers will save to your My Documents. If you have a preference or if you have a thumb drive, then make sure you save it to the location that you need. Specifically with homework, make sure that you have backup copies. You do have access to your OneDrive to save data, so I would recommend that you save it there. That way you have a copy in the cloud. So if you don't have access to your personal laptop, you have access to your file. But making sure you have copies, don't depend on the computer. The hard drive could die at any time, so it's important just to make sure that you have backups of your homework so you can access it from a couple of different locations. All right, so from here, again, we are going to rename and call this Game Card. So I'm going to save mine in Downloads just because I don't really want to keep it. All right, we're going to verify that it says Excel Workbook. So Save As Type should be Excel Workbook, and then we're going to select Save. All right, next we're going to look at entering text, dates, and numbers. Text data is any combination of letters, numbers, and symbols. Text data is often referred to as text string because it contains a series or strings of text characters. Numeric data is a number that can be used in mathematical calculation, and date and time data are commonly recognized formats for date and time values. So we're going to look at entering text. So we're going to select our documentation sheet. Here we're going to do Control Home, which takes us back to A1. And then in cell A1, we're going to type in game card. All right. Once we do that, we're going to press Enter twice. And you should now be in cell A3. It's listed here again in your name box. And we're going to type in author. All right, we're going to tab over, and then here you're going to enter your name. All right, then we're going to go down to A4, and we're going to type in date and press enter. Sorry, excuse me, we're going to press tab, and then you need to put today's date. All right, then we're going to type in purpose in A5. Okay, tab over, and then we're going to type in to record customer game orders. All right, so next we're on page 19. We're looking at undoing and redoing in action. So we're going to undo the text entry in B5. All right, so what we're going to do here on our quick access toolbar, we're going to select and see, as you put your mouse over it, it tells you what it's going to do. It's going to undo typing, and then it shows you what you actually typed. So if we select undo, it can take that away. All right. Now in B5, we're actually going to go back in and we're going to type to record purchases of board games for game card. And press enter. Next, we're going to look at editing cell contents. So we're going to edit B5, which is the one we just did. So if we double click, you can see once I've double clicked that my cursor, there's a blinking cursor that's in there now, so we can make changes to that. And so we're going to press our arrows to the left of from. All right. And we're going to type in other items and then press spacebar. So after games here, we're going to type in and other items. From game card and press enter. So basically, again, all you're going to be able to do is once you double click into a specific cell to make it active, that gives you the ability to edit it. You can also do it from here, so you could use your arrow keys to get to the specific location you need to change, or you could even do it here in your formula bar. So from up here, then you could select any area that you need to change. All right, next we're going to look at understanding autocomplete. So autocomplete helps make entering repetitive text easier. So kind of like your phone, when you try to type something, it tries to assume what you're trying to say. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. So at the bottom of page 20, we're going to click on customer order. All right, so in A1, which is where I'm currently located, we're going to type in customer order. All right, and we're going to press enter twice. So we are now in A3. we're going to type in ship to. Okay, we're going to press enter. All right, next, in the range A4 through A10, we're going to enter the following labels. So if you look on page 21, it kind of shows you what you're actually typing in. Basically, it means from A4, you're going to type in the first thing, which is first name, last name, address, and so forth. But that will go in each individual, so it's not lumped in one. It's in each individual one. So in A4, it's first name, last name, address, city, state, postal code, and phone. Okay? Now we're going to click in B4. All right? So here in B4, we're going to make it the active cell. And then what we're going to do is enter this individual's information. Okay? So it says here, entering the following contact information, pressing the enter key after each entry, and ignoring any autocomplete suggestions. So first name is Leslie. Ritter is the last name. 805 Mountain Street, Brookton, Massachusetts, 02302. And then 508 555 1072. All right, next on page 21, we're looking at displaying numbers as text. So we're going to enter the postal code as text. So we're going to select cell B9. I think I missed a number there, so hold on. So the reason it's there, so it ignores the first zero. Okay, so that's why we're actually going to change it. Okay, so once we select B9, we're going to type in, and again, double click to edit. So you see it has a single quote, 02302, okay, and then we're going to press enter. All that does is tell it that not to ignore the zero. Okay, so because it's a postal code, that's important. It doesn't need to be left off. Page 22 talks about entering dates. There's a couple of different formats there. You should be kind of familiar with those. Next on page 23, we're going to enter the current date into the documentation sheet. So I had entered our date here. So in B4, we're going to type in the current date in 0 month, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year format. Okay, so here I need to add my 0. And again, you can see that it ignores that. So basically, it's just, if you look at page 22, you have a variety of options. We will go into later where we can actually specifically tell it what type of date we want to use. All right, next we're going to click on the customer order worksheet and return to A1. In figure 116, it has some information here for the customer order. And from here, what we're going to do is enter the first part of the customer order. All right, so in cell A12, we're going to make it the active one, and we're going to type in stock ID. All right, we're going to tab over to B12. All right, and then next what we're going to do is in range B12 through D12, we're going to type in the following information: category, manufacturer, and title. So basically, if you look, we're staying in the same row, just changing columns. So we have stock ID, and I need to correct my D, so if we double click, that gives you the option to edit. All right, we're going to tab over. We're going to type in category, tab over again, manufacturer, tab over, and then title. All right, in the range A13 through D17, we're going to type in the stock ID, category, manufacturer, and title text for the 5 items purchased by Leslie Ritter, listed in 116. Okay, so if you look on page 24, you can see where you entered that information. So basically, we're copying figure 116. And all I'm going to do is just a couple of these. We're not going to do them all. All right, so you can see from here, you would just need to go in and fill in the other records for the remaining 4 items that she purchased. Okay, next we're going to look at entering numbers. So in the range E12 through G12, okay, so we're here, we're going to type in players, price, and quantity. Okay. One thing I'm going to show you here, because as you can see, as you start typing, it makes it really difficult to tell where you are because your information is kind of bleeding over into another column. So if you select your table selector, which is this little arrow that's pointed down in the very left corner, and from there, what you can do is in between any column in here, what it's going to do is make the spacing appropriate for whatever text is located within those cells. Okay, so you can see now that our information isn't kind of bleeding over into other cells. Okay, there are options to wrap and other things like that, merge cells, and we'll go into those later. But again, selecting your table selector, double clicking between any of the columns will actually do the appropriate spacing. That also works the same for row as well. Okay, so in E13 we're going to enter 4. For price we're going to enter $39.95, and that did have a dollar sign in front. All right, and then the quantity is going to be 2. Okay, again, if you can just complete the other ones as they are in your textbook. Now what we're going to do is select Save. Again, it's your icon at the top, or your shortcut key is Control-S. Resizing columns and rows, what I just went into, gives you the ability to space your information so you can read it. All right, so on page 26, you can increase the width of columns B and C basically by doing what we've done before. The best way to do it is just do your actual table selector and then double click where you need to change your information. You can also change your information based on column width as well. Okay, so on page 27, you can set the specific width that you want. So if you right click on any specific cell that is there, and you're going to select Format Cells, again, it gives you a couple of different options as far as the type of category your number needs to be, the alignment, the font, border, fuel, and protection. Okay, so again, you can go under your format. So again, select here, or you can right click. But here under your home ribbon, we're going to select format under cells, and then there's a default width, and then there's a couple of different widths that you can change or height. So we're going to select column width, and then here's where you can specifically set it to whatever size you would like. Okay, again, that's for anything. So if you selected a couple of different columns, again, on your home ribbon, you're going to select format, and then you can change your column here to, so if we selected 18, it would appropriately space each of those based on that specific setting that you did. Also, you have the ability to wrap text. So if I minimize this or make it smaller for a second, so if we actually made this 18, so we don't want it to be any larger than the width of 18. Okay, so you can see at this point, you can see here in your formula that it's there, but you can't read it. What you can do is wrap your text. So here on the home ribbon under alignment, you can wrap text. That makes it the row wider, so it will accommodate all the text that's there, and you can actually read it. Okay. So this is the end of tutorial 1.1. I will record 1.2 and have that available for you as well.